We're thrilled to be joined by 3 leaders today at BlackRock's Aladdin Group to get their best actionable advice on navigating corporate dynamics and setting clear goals for career growth. Aladdin is BlackRock's end-to-end investment management and operations platform, which unifies the investment process through a common data language, providing insights and supporting business transformation. I'm pleased to be joined today by Jing Chen, who is the Director of Aladdin Engineering at BlackRock. Jing Chen leads Aladdin Product Service Engineering, also known as APSE, within BlackRock Solutions, which is responsible for delivering technology solutions to support BRS business operations for scale and efficiency. Jing also plays a key role in leading and supporting the Aladdin ecosystem and iHub Atlanta site initiatives. Jing holds a BS in computer science from Columbia University, a BA in mathematics from Lewis and Clark College, an MS in computer science from Oregon Health and Science University, and an MBA from Terry College of Business, University of Georgia. Jing holds 2 technical patents, one in systems and methods for providing dynamic utility consumption ratings, and those published or patented in 2013, and then SEP 2.0 extension to support program files, systems, methods, and apparatus for coordinating utility meter program files, which was patented in 2011. Next, we have Emily Clark, who's an associate for the Aladdin Global Talent Lead at BlackRock. Emily Clark, as I mentioned, is the Global Talent Lead for Aladdin Data, owning the talent strategy. So she oversees the employee lifecycle through a keen focus on career development, employee sentiment, and succession planning. Emily focuses on the employee experience by enhancing connectivity across the globe as the global chair of the Aladdin Data Culture and Connectivity Committee. In her current role, she is dedicated to creating transparency around talent processes and evolving efficiencies to enable talent to achieve their career goals. Emily has a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology from the University of Georgia. And last but certainly not least, we have Akeem Leachman, who's the Vice President of the Aladdin COO team at BlackRock. Akeem Leachman, Vice President, is a member of the Aladdin COO team. He focuses on people and talent strategy and business management across Aladdin's 6 pillars. He's located in the Atlanta iHub. Akeem currently serves as a regional chair for the AMRS region of the Black Professionals and Allies Network, also known as BPN, and was previously a co-lead for BPN Atlanta and member of the Associate Arena Leadership Team. He is a current board member of a local nonprofit, Blue Heron Nature Preserve. Akeem earned his MBA with a focus in executive leadership from Southern New Hampshire University and a bachelor's degree from Florida A&M University and Kaiser University. He also holds certificates from McKinsey & Company's Management Accelerator Program and the University of South Florida's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the Workplace Program. What a lineup. Thank you all for being here. We are so excited about today's discussion. And for those just tuning in, I would like to remind everyone that our speakers will be answering your questions that come directly from you all. So later on in the webinar, please submit your questions in the chat on the right of your screen. They will do their very best to respond to as many as they can. I'd now like to pass the microphone over to the BlackRock team to take it away.
Thanks. We're going to start with some icebreaker questions just so you all can get to know us a little bit better. So I will ask the question to myself first, as that's how it's prompted. But the question that is posed to me is, what is my most used emoji? I personally use the crying laughing emoji the most frequently. This is primarily because my husband is a jokester and I do not have TikTok. So if you send me a TikTok in a message, I have to respond with an emoji because I'm not going to respond on TikTok. So I laugh a lot through iMessage. The next question I'm going to pose to Akeem, which, Akeem, if you could only eat one food again for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Okay. In true fashion, I like to make my own rules. Like, one food for the rest of my life is kind of hard. The Caribbean in me is like rice. Rice is the best thing there is. But I don't know if I can live my whole life on rice. So can I be a meal instead of just like one dish?
I guess we'll let you do that since you're a foodie.
Okay. All right, easy. Rice and peas and oxtail. Very like Jamaican. And then to throw some green in there, we'll just like do some steamed cabbage just because it's the right thing to do.
Love that. Gotta have a vegetable. Jing, what fashion trend would you never bring back, and which one would you bring back?
That I'm not a fashion person at all, so I'm actually dressed very boring. I would say I'm not creative, because I'm an engineer. We follow formulas and guidelines every single day. So if one thing that I like to bring back, we like to see more in office, is probably the disco style, because that way I just feel like then working environment can be a little more fun, little more fun dancing with it. So
I agree. I think we should definitely bring back the disco. All right. So now that you know us a little bit better and who we are as individuals, and we're happy to share more if you have questions about that as well in the chat. We'll start off with some of the more professional questions, as well as just based on our experience with our corporate careers at BlackRock and before BlackRock. So Jing, I'm going to pose the first question to you, which is, what is the hardest thing you have learned throughout your corporate career?
This is actually not an easy question. I actually had to think about a little bit. I mean, we are facing every day. We are facing different challenges and different problems that we need to solve. But I think as a leader or as a more seasoned professional in workspace, I think the thing that I remind me every single day is that we all need to be a little more adaptive. The environment changes all the time, and what I knew yesterday may not be good enough anymore. I need to constantly learning and ask more questions. There are a lot more people out there that know more than I do, and also have better ideas solving problems. So just that constant learning, and being curious, and then challenging my own assumptions. At the end of the day, we're here, working in any enterprise. We all try to provide the best services and best product to our clients. So I think it's not hard, but I just have to constantly remind myself. And sometimes we kind of stay back into our comfort zone a little bit, and not questioning why are we doing this and how can we do things better. Yeah. So and I hope I answer to the best I can on this question. And I'm going to ask Akeem, what was the best advice you received early in your career that was actually impactful?
Okay. Early in my career, me being me, I'm going to still go off script again. Can I do right before like my career? Because I got some advice in high school that actually like changed how I thought about leadership and responsibility. At the time, I was in a Marine Corps JROTC program, and it's like leadership education is the essence of it, right? You're learning. Yes, you learn military history and all of that good stuff, but throughout a lot of it, you're basically learning how to lead among yourselves and like other 14 to 18-year-olds, which now that we look back at it, it's probably like wild to to be trying to get a whole bunch of teenagers to do anything together. At the time, our retired sergeant major gave me the advice when I became the commanding officer that when you're a leader, everything that goes right is your fault, and everything that goes wrong is also your fault. And I didn't quite understand it just then at the time. I was a little younger, but as I like moved more and more throughout that year and was being held responsible for any and everything that was happening with 184 students at a high school in different classes and everything, it kind of helped me understand that like you have to own the decisions that you make. You have to own the way other people show up when it comes to like a brand or the organization, and whether the result turns out good or turns out wrong, like you still have to basically own it, right? And so I took that like self ownership throughout my career into like, now I'm happy to make decisions, whether they turn out to be good, whether they turn out to be bad. Kind of like the fail fast idea, where I'm much happier with just jumping out and taking the responsibility, making the decision, because I know whether it goes well or wrong, I'm going to own it. So yeah, that's the advice that I got very early on that I kind of take with me still. I think that was good, right? All right. So Emily, what was a mistake that you made early in your career and how did you course correct? So kind of very like off the back of mine being able to accept it. But what was one that you made early on that you were able to course correct and turn that around?
I think our answers tie perfectly together, which if you all knew Akeem and I in real life, we literally sit beside each other in the office. We are very in sync. So this is not surprising. But I would say a mistake that I made early in my career was having unrealistic expectations of what I could achieve, as well as unrealistic expectations of what others would act like and be like in the workplace. So I very much so believe in the sentiment that Akeem just shared, which is that you have to take responsibility for everything. However, I think it's unrealistic to expect that everyone in the workplace will take that approach. So I definitely had unrealistic expectations of how peers were going to act and had unrealistic expectations of how peers were going to perceive me. And coming straight out of college, being in grad school and working full time, I definitely had an academic mentality where I could just achieve everything by studying the hardest and working the hardest. And that's just not how corporate America always works. So I think how I course corrected that was taking a step back and spending the time to make sure that I got to understand corporate America a little bit better. I am a person that definitely believes that corporate America is a game that you have to play. So you better be good at it, and you have to figure out the rules that are spoken and unspoken, and then move very specifically from there. So that's some advice that I definitely had, some lessons that I learned early on in my career, and some that I carry with me today. So based on that question, Jing, I want to shift gears just slightly and talk a little bit more about your leadership and your management style, particularly in the engineering space. So being that you're an engineering leader and manager, you coach and manage employees across all levels of our organization. What can you tell us about tailoring your leadership style to best support your individual team members, and how has that helped you build stronger teams here at BlackRock?
That's a great question. The majority of the workforce nowadays is very, very young. I recognize that obviously I'm not living. I didn't graduate. I graduated a long time ago, and there are things that I don't know about the new trends, things anymore. So what I try to do is I actually try to get to know every one of try to get to know really well with my team members. Actually, not just my team member, also the people that I work with. I try to know more at the personal level what they like, what they do not like, what type of things that they want to do in couple months, couple years. So then we can start talking about, okay, what does a career development plan look like on an individual base? Because everyone's different, and how member of the team or how colleagues receive information, communicate, how they communicate, they're all different. I mean, everyone has their own styles and they have their own desire. And there's not so much like right or wrong either. Just because everyone's different, everybody has different goals. I'm more now. I'm more accepting to a variety of just different personality, different drive, different goals. And my job is to help everyone to get achieve their goal, maybe get a little better in some certain areas. So I'm a lot more realistic nowadays that just say, hey, here's your expectation, what you need to do and how I can help you. So I also want the employee or the team member take a little more ownership on their own as well. Not so much that they feel like they're on their own, but with the full support that I can give with the rest of the organization as well. So that way they feel like they have the full support and they can just make baby steps towards their goals. And just as long as they feel that they're being supported and they're achieving their own individual goals, I think ultimately BlackRock culture is about, is like we're trying to find a win-win situation for everyone. Everyone enjoy what they do, and then keep achieving, as well as have a balance with their personal life, have personal growth as well. So I think that's how I'm doing it now. And again, how I work with the team and how I work with individuals, I think that also it has been changed quite a bit from 10, 20 years ago. Now it's just like we just got to be adaptive, and then see what kind of team members you have, and then also ultimately what is the overall business objective are. So we're trying to line up everything. Yeah. So with that, I am gonna pass on to Akeem. The question is, what extracurricular activities are you involved in BlackRock, and how has being involved helping you achieve your career goals?
Okay, good question. I'm very, very involved. Yeah, I don't even know if I can like too involved. So what we refer to as like our 9 to 5 is our job, and then like our 5 to 9 is like the extracurricular. So how I look at extracurricular activities is typically about like what brings you joy. So you may not always find joy in every aspect of your job. There could be very manual or operational aspects of your job that you may not find the most joy in. Before I was in this role, I was in legal and compliance here at BlackRock, and the corporate compliance team does like our personal trading policies, gifts and entertainment, political contribution activities, as well as our like private investments. So there was a lot of like the same task over and over. And what I started to do was like, okay, if I'm only getting 70% of that enjoyment, where can I find that extra 30% to make me 100% happy with how I look at my job every day? And so I started, at the time I was an associate, so I started getting involved in associates arena. I also got very involved in the Black Professionals Network, because I like to just create like spaces of inclusion, et cetera, for people. I started getting involved. Oh, I'm also a very big culture junkie. So like when it comes to the foodie thing, like I love trying different foods, understanding people's cultures, et cetera. So after like getting involved in the aspects of the world of that, or the aspects of networks that align to my worldviews, I then started branching out and joining other networks like Somos for our Latinx and AM for our Asian, Middle Easterners and Pacific Islanders, just to like start learning more. And so that's how I ended up like using that to fuel my career goals, because it just made me happier at work. And then from there, you use those those opportunities to meet more people, learn about more people, perform at higher levels, and get in front of people that you wouldn't normally get in front of. May they be in a different department, but you typically stay on your floor or wherever the case is, or they may be more senior than you. And that has afforded me so many opportunities to meet, learn, grow, excel, get promoted, internal mobility, visit different cities, countries, etc., all from just like being involved. Like we spend so much of our time at work that it's a bad idea to be miserable the whole time, right? So you really have to be intentional about how do you find the things that bring you joy at work, and how do you lean into them to supplement some of the not so savory parts of your job that may be more operational or tedious than you would like. Awesome. All right. So I see a question in here that is very on brand for the question I want to ask Emily, because Emily is a champion of this at work. And it is, how do you manage your work-life balance? And what advice would you give to early career professionals as they try to begin to and find that balance?
I love this question so much. So I might have an answer that people are not accustomed to, but it's something that I wholeheartedly stand behind, both from a research perspective and just a live perspective. So I heavily think that there is no such thing as work-life balance. And the reason that I say that is because it is inevitable that where we are in this time in the world, you have to work to live. So if you don't have a paycheck and a way to make a living, then it's really hard to live a very fun and exciting life or just a life with basic needs. So for me, it's not so much about finding necessarily the balance between work and life, but it's more so about understanding how can I fit both together to live the best life for myself. And so as Akeem was mentioning previously, enjoying what you do for a living is really, really important in that equation of how you find balance in your life. And so it's more so about, do you enjoy what you do and how do you fit the pieces together in order for your life to work in a way that you feel that you're not overwhelmed, that you're not getting burned out. So for me, that looks like I wake up in the morning and I go work out. Once I work out, I come home, I log in, I check and see what things are going on in the APAC region, as that's a region that I support and we are a global company. I then get ready, I then drive into work. I then am online for a while. I typically end my day between 5:36. Once I'm home, it's that I spend time with my family. I log back in around 9 o'clock at night. That's when I check, make sure again that my other regions, my West Coast team is doing okay. I take meetings if there's any meetings that are coming up in those time zones or those regions. I make sure that everything's set up for success for tomorrow, and then I log back off. So for some people, they would say, wow, you're working too much. That doesn't sound like balance. For me, it tends to work really well because I have that time in the morning to myself where I get to exercise and enjoy my morning. And then I also have the time in the afternoon to spend with my family. So it's more so about how do you fit your work schedule into your life schedule and how do you make sure that you're blending those things together so that you're enjoying the most out of life. I often say too, work-life balance is a relationship just like a personal relationship. So if you're married, if you have a best friend, a partner, any of the above, there's going to be times where you have to give something more than the other person is giving. That's going to be true for work as well. So there's going to be scenarios, there's going to be high times in work. Maybe it's year end, quarter end, whatever it may be, where you're giving a little bit more than you would typically. But then there's going to be lower times where it's that you don't have to give as much and you can give more time back to your personal life. So there's not necessarily a balance, but there is an equation and a blend that you can figure out that works best for you. And having a company that's supportive like ours of hybrid work schedules and flexibility is really important. So I highly recommend, if that's something that you're looking for, make sure that that's a part of your job search in the company that you're a part of. That helps lead right into our next question, Jing, which, as you have been with BlackRock for some time now, what have you noted as the most significant constant in your career, and how have you tailored your leadership style to prepare your team for that constant?
BlackRock is the fourth. Yeah, it's the fourth tech company that, fintech tech company. I mean the technology, even though I work for a asset management company. So I've been working in 4 different tech companies, and BlackRock is the most recent one. What's common in all 4 jobs is that there are outcomes, engineering outcomes that's expected, whether it's to internal business or to external clients or clients. And then one, results were expected. 2 is that there's also expectation on qualities as well. So it's just not getting things done quick and cheap. It's also high quality as well. So that having stayed probably constant throughout my entire career. And I think that also probably is true in probably every corporate job that's out there. Okay, there's results expected, there's quality expected. There might be other things expected as well, but these are the 2 minimums. With that thinking, with that kind of expectation for me as well as for the team, now what what the flexibility or empowerment come from, each different job is that how we get it done might be slightly different in terms of corporate processes as well as internal operating models. So that's where we try to, and again, every team is different, and then every product we're trying to build is also different. So we're trying to look at all these different variables and say, okay, what is the winning formula that we can come up in this kind of environment, in this kind of corporate environment, or in this commercial environment that we can make everything happen. So I think that I constantly work with our team, just trying to figure out that winning formula. And then, you figure it out once, that's probably not good enough. It just means that it worked one time, and the second time we kind of be a little more retrospective a little bit, is say, okay, what worked well last time, what didn't work well last time, and we try to make tweaks or try to make continuous improvement into that process. And then the second time, the hope is that every time we're doing this, we're delivering high quality product with the minimal cost, minimal investment, and then with the least amount of time. So that is the ultimate goal, that we're doing it over and over again. So hopefully that will give folks an idea on how we run things here at BlackRock. And I think it's very a lot of companies run the same way, and because at the end of the day, there's top line, bottom line, and the profit, and we all have to say, how does our team operation fit into that model, minimizing costs and maximize our profit. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Akeem a question. When meeting with managers and leaders of professional, what is most important about how you show up?
Okay, what's most important about how you show up? For me, I like to show up as my true, authentic self. I think it took me some time to get there, right? So a big part of how we show up, or how I show up, was first starting to see how I show up for myself before I think about how I show up for other people. During one of my courses I was taking in interpersonal communication, I really got into like introspection, self-disclosure, and like self-awareness. I'm one of those people with a very healthy amount of delusion, where I think that, typical young person thing, you're always right, everyone else is wrong. And while I was in this class, that really shifted how I started to look at things. And I started to become more self-aware and understanding where I had my strength and where I had my weaknesses. And so when I started to understand that more, I started to understand my value and what I bring to the table a lot more. And so when I started meeting with managers or senior leaders, I was fully able to like make my intentions known, right? This is what I want out of this meeting. Or if it's a coaching session, whatever the case is, this is the area where I have an opportunity to grow. Can you help me grow in this area, or get me in contact with the person that can? So leaning on them for their expertise and their network to help me get in contact with the right people. And so that's how I started to show up in those meetings. I think in the places that we work, since we spend so much time here, if you don't look at these individuals as just like merely coworkers and never actually interact with them, it could make working very cumbersome. So I spend a lot of time also trying to know those individuals on a more personal level. So that way it's easier to navigate some of the conversations that you may need to have. May they be, because personal things are happening and you need to activate on that work-life balance shift a little bit more, or that we are trying to meet particular needs for the business and you need to get more context without thinking, okay, well, if I ask this question, people may think that I don't know what's going on, or et cetera. So I think it's like very important to know yourself before you try to like, and granted, we're going to continue to evolve and grow and evolve like that. That's perfectly fine. But having a true idea of self and self-worth makes it easier to show up in spaces and demand or command the attention, respect, etc. that you deserve. All right. I will ask Emily about professional brand, right? So what does it mean to you when someone says professional brand, and how important is it to have a good professional brand?
This is such a good question. And I think that professional brand is something that we honestly don't talk about enough, particularly as leaders and managers of junior talent, because a lot of times people will come into the organization and they might make a bad or poor impression, and that tends to stick with us. And that is the first step of building a professional brand. So I think this is really important for anyone at any phase of their career, but also really important as it's that we train up and we get juniors ready to take on bigger roles within our organization. So I define personal brand as what you're known for within your organization. How do you carry yourself? How do you show up? How do you speak? How do you dress? How do you represent your team? And so all of those things collectively create a professional brand for you that tells people how much they can trust you to do great work, how much they can trust what you're telling them, whether or not you're data driven, whether or not you are reliable. And so I really think it's important for us to take the time in every interaction, regardless of if we're working with someone above us, at our level, or below us, to really show up as our strongest and best self, because that's how we create the strongest brand. So for me personally, I take that in terms of how I walk into the building every day. You can ask Jing and Akeem, they probably will tell you I like to bebop into the office and I smile and I say good morning and how are you? How are things going? Because I really want people to think of me as a positive professional, someone who always has optimism and hope. There's a saying here at BlackRock that we have unwavering optimism. And so I really try to weave that into my personal brand so that it matches the professional brand of my organization. It's also important of how we show up and how we carry ourselves. So in challenging conversations and difficult times with coworkers or with peers or with a client, showing up with grace and making sure that you're maintaining composure. Those are really important parts of your professional brand as well. So there's multiple elements and you have full authorship of what your personal brand looks like. So it's really important to take the time, look at mentors, look at people in your industry, look at people on LinkedIn that you really admire, and take notes of what their professional branding is and see how you can incorporate that authentically into your personal brand as you're looking to grow and as well as you're looking to build your network, because networks will take you very far. I want to take a minute to ask a question to all of us before we hand it back over to Valentine. Sorry, I totally mistaken your name. But if we can just take a minute to answer one question for everyone in the group. Jing, I'll start with you. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice in the beginning of your career, what would it be and why? You're on mute, Jing.
Sorry, wasn't quick enough. If there's one advice that I would have knew when I started, why? I'm thinking. I'm trying to summarize it. I mean, everything that you guys have said is so true, and I think I would say just be yourself. Not to. I'm not saying that you should not be competitive or be dry, being ambitious, I guess. You want to be driven, but you want to be true to yourself. And again, like Emily said, have really realistic expectation. You want to achieve X, Y, Z, and to think about how you could or how I could achieve X, Y, Z. Everything takes time nowadays, and just because someone else got something, get promoted or got a better job or move faster, that's great. And try to learn and improve yourself improve myself as much as I can. I mean, we all have our own life, our own goal, and just figure out what works for ourselves. What works for other people, it may not work for me, and that's totally okay. So I think just kind of continue, like what I've been trying to do with my team and with myself, is just continue to figure out, how do we bring the best of ourselves, and how do we bring the best of a team, just day in, day out. Yeah. So that would be it. Akeem, next.
Yeah. For me, actually, this is one I picked up last week. Is don't waste time doubting yourself. So that's the advice that I would have gave to my younger self earlier in my career. I think a lot of us go through like imposter syndrome, especially if you're like have any dimension of being a marginalized group and you're like working in corporate America. It's like, okay, this space isn't for me. How do I, perform up to expectations, etc. You got the job. That's enough. That's the validation you need. Stop wasting time on that. Think about how you're going to perform your best and be better, do better, excel more. So that's the advice that I would give myself. Don't waste time on doubting yourself.
Thank you. I would say to do what you're passionate about. I think particularly just given my background in IO psychology, I see all too often people who sit in jobs where they hate what they do for a living. And the reality is that we all spend the majority of our time at work. And so I think it's really important to lean into what you're passionate about and don't necessarily think about how can I make the most money or how can I make the quickest career jumps? How can I be the most impressive individual in my field? I think it's more so about, are you passionate about what you're doing? And do you have a true heart for that? Because at the end of the day, that's going to drive your happiness. And that's what's most important. Mm-hmm. Valentina, I want to hand it back over to you so we can answer some questions from the chat and any questions that you might have from us.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for the richness and the experiences and the advice that you've shared. We have lots of questions, so let's get these underway. Emily, you spoke a lot about the importance of developing your professional brand and looking at your network and folks who you look up to in terms of mentorship to get insight into how to kind of develop your network. We have a question here that talks a little bit about mentorship. So this is all to the group, but would love your thoughts, maybe more specifically, Emily, on this one. How have your views on mentorship evolved throughout your career as you've been a mentee or a mentor? And how do you seek and provide those opportunities to be a mentor within your organization or in your industry?
Yeah, this is a great question. I would say first and foremost that I personally have seen and had the most success whenever it's that mentors are picked authentically. So what I mean by that is that you've connected with them via someone in your network who said, hey, I really think that you would have a lot in common with this individual, or this individual is on a similar career trajectory that you were, you all should connect. And I think that creates the most authentic relationships. There's a lot of mentorship programs that are random selection or random match, and those don't always work as well. So I think be selective in your mentorship programs, both as a mentor and a mentee, because at the end of the day, time is a resource and resources are limited. So don't waste your time in a relationship that's not going to be fully beneficial. I think it's really important that you have mentors and mentees throughout all levels of your career so that you can learn and hear a third-party perspective on situations that you're going through. It's always good to have somebody that you can have a listening ear for, or that I can rant to about. I think it's also really important for a mentee-mentor relationship to come prepared with what your outcomes should look like and what you're hoping they will be. If you enter the relationship and you don't have questions in mind, or you don't have outcomes that you're looking to get, the relationship can tend to fall flat. And then it's that it was a waste of both of your times. So I think look for those authentic relationships. While there are mentorship programs throughout organizations, often you can also leverage those if it's that maybe the authentic relationships just haven't stirred up yet. But go into those with a really clear mindset of what you're hoping to get out of them and make sure that you come prepared with questions.
Wonderful. That's such great advice. And Akeem, you had also spoken a little bit about showing up to senior leadership conversations, right? And being acutely aware of your strengths and weaknesses and that kind of introspection. Could you maybe provide some reflections on how that aligns well with, finding mentorships that feel authentic and really being able to show up in the best possible way?
Yeah, so I've actually had success with authentic mentorship as well as the prescribed mentorship. I think when you kind of know what you want, then it's easier to navigate the ones that are more prescribed or someone is assigned to you. And so typically I get a mentor that you can have a mentor that's for everything, but I think that's a lot of pressure to put on any one particular person. So I've actually got mentors for different aspects of my life and the different things that I'm trying to navigate. So when I was in legal and compliance, I had like a managing director that was on the legal side to help me like navigate my overall global brand, my global visibility, get me in rooms with more senior people, etc. 2 years later, when I transitioned into Aladdin and into this role, I got a mentor that was specifically for Aladdin, like me learning more about an organization that I had not been traditionally a part of. I had like a senior Black leader that was a mentor to help me like navigate being Black in the workplace. I had a senior gay leader that was like navigating being gay in the workplace. Like there's all these different aspects and facets of your life that it's unrealistic that any one person can just like fill the gap of all of it. So, and as you're going through it, because granted, it might sound like I'm meeting with 50 mentors a week or whatever, but that wasn't the case. But like your relationships and how you engage with these mentors will change over time. Where like early stages, even when I'm mentoring others, like early stages, we're meeting like once a week for like the first 2 months, just so we can get to know each other and kind of build that rapport. And then from there, the cadence will change. Whereas like my first mentor from maybe 4 or so years ago when, in legal and compliance, we only catch up like sporadically now. Or if he comes to Atlanta or I visit New York, I typically go like once a quarter. So I would say that's kind of like the cadence now. And there are people that you like are now like on demand where if something happens, you're reaching out, you're getting the advice. Whereas there are other ones that it's more active when I'm, taking on something new that needs some extra guidance or et cetera. So that's how I kind of navigate knowing who I am and what I'm looking for, and then finding mentors to fill a particular gap or to help me navigate a particular nuance or situation.
I love that the idea that nobody is like one monolith, right? And as you progress in your career, you encounter different people who can provide insight and perspective and support in a variety of different ways. That's wonderful. And Jing, do you have any thoughts coming from a management perspective?
Yeah, so and I also think that the relationship is a two-way street. Right. So when I'm getting advice from a person, I also try to offer, okay, what can I help? How can I help you, or how can I make your job easier? So they call reverse mentoring a little bit. So that's where I'm any relationship that I build with whether it's within work or outside work, I'm always saying, hey, I'm always here for you, to be whatever it is. Anything I can do to help. So that way, the relationship tends to stay a lot longer. So I work with 4 companies, and then I still talk to the people that I used to work for lots of different reasons. So it's almost like what Kim is saying. You almost want to have a board of directors for yourself. It could, could be for health reasons, could be for parenting, for parenting advice. So anything that's going on in my life that I need advice or need a support, I need just a sounding board, I have somebody that I can go to quickly. So that's what I would add. Yes.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And that idea of like a symbiotic relationship, right? Where it's not just like I'm coming to you, the mentor, and getting all this stuff. It's really this reciprocity that makes it such a authentic relationship. That's wonderful. Great. So we have a couple other questions. I think one of the ones that came up that was really interesting was, I think, something, Jing, you had touched upon briefly, which was this idea of maintaining like your authenticity and kind of what's best for you while operating in a corporate environment that can feel sometimes very like competitive, very like, you're comparing yourself to other folks. And so the question really is, how do you deal with this kind of competitiveness, both inside you and I would also say externally, when you're working in a place that's very, very go, go, go?
Yeah. So I'm a very practical person, because that's probably because I have an engineering background. Everything's pretty black and white. So the way I see it is that I can only control what I do, what my team does, right? There's a lot of things we have no control over. Okay, so yes, in a corporate environment, between individuals and also among different teams can be competitive. Before I worry about how I can win, let's just worry about improving ourselves. Okay, improving improving ourselves first. Because if you are the best, like any sports team that if you train hard, you have the best talents, the team's going to win. I mean, yes, you lose it from once in a while, but most of the time you're going to win because you prepare for that kind of competition, right? So I just think let's not worry about how we compare to other people or other teams. Let's focus on ourselves first. There's so many ways that we can improve ourselves, and then that's within our control. So things are under our control. Let's do it. Let's not wait. Okay. Again, it goes back to what Akim's saying. Let's not waste. You only have so much energies and time anyway. So let's just not waste things that we have no control over. Let's just be present, and do the best we can. Then I think the rest will be taken care on its own.
Yeah, that's such a great concept, right? This idea of like one team, one dream, really making sure that you shine when you allow others on your team to also shine with you. Lovely. I think we have time for maybe one more question. So the question of the hour is obviously the Aladdin team and BlackRock is really known for being at the forefront when it comes to tech and innovation, right? We have a question regarding approaching in general innovation and problem solving in the corporate world. How are your views, or what are your views when it comes to applying this kind of mindset to the corporate world? If anyone has any specific thoughts.
Yeah. So
okay, go for it, Jing.
No, you sure?
Yeah, I'll do a short one then, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. You do a short one. Yeah.
My thoughts on this is back to the healthy delusion. Like, I believe that I can do and accomplish anything that I want, right? Full stop. Someone doesn't have to blaze the trail for me. I can do it myself. So I take that, and then I take that and I mix that with the idea that I don't know everything. And so I cannot make, like, within my role, I make a lot of final decisions, but I cannot make those final decisions without talking to and collaborating with the right people. Jing is an engineer. I am not an engineer. I should not be making final decisions on Jing's engineering team without having Jing's input, right? So I take being like, understand that I can do everything, understand that I don't know everything, and then collaborating with the right people or the right resources. So reading the right books, continuous learning, etc., to then craft how I think about innovation, moving forward, evolution, etc. So like, that's my formula. Know yourself, know what you don't know, get in contact with the right people that do know it, and also be brutally honest with each other, right? All of the groupthink, whatever, doesn't really help us like progress at the rate that we need to. So if we're telling each other, this is a great idea, of course, use tact, don't offend anyone. But like, this is a great idea. Here are some areas that could be a little better, or we should rework, etc. Ultimately gets us to the best result.
Yeah.
All right, Jing, you.
Well said. I don't think it matters whether it's a business decision or it's a technical decision that we make in the engineering world. I mean, our goal, our overarching goal is the same. We want to produce the best outcome for our clients, for internal business, right? So how do we do that? just because we did it beautifully last time, it does not mean that we follow what we did well, but there's always ways to improve. So that's where the innovation, creativity coming from, right? This company is very much about out of box thinking. Challenging the status quo. So at the end of the day, if we highly encourage everybody bring their ideas. No ideas are bad ideas. Collectively, all ideas coming together, and then we somehow come up the best idea that we could implement, and then we deliver the best results that we can try.
Yeah, I agree, Jing. And I think the biggest thing at BlackRock is we're constantly asked to think about the future and how to make the future better. So it's one of our principles that we're always striving for better futures. And so we think heavily about who are the end users, who are the individuals interacting with different things on a daily basis. So it's always about, is there a way to make things better? And if there is, bringing that idea to the table. So there's no idea that's too dumb. There's no idea that's too small. It's really a matter of we all have ideas and then leveraging that network across BlackRock to figure out how to bring it to life. So I think it's really important. BlackRock prioritizes innovation, but they also prioritize optimization and automation to ensure that we can create greater capacity for ourselves and continue to innovate everything that we're working on across the board so that there's better and better futures ahead of us.
Yeah, what a testament to that kind of collective, like one BlackRock mindset, right? And that idea of, being a large organization, but really valuing opinions and working collectively for common good. Wonderful. Well, we do have at Fairy Godboss a tradition of asking our panelists this question. So I'm going to posit the question to you all, and hopefully we can make it brief given time. But what is an accomplishment, personal or professional, that you're most proud of? Jing, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I want to say my children, my families.
I love that. Emily?
Wow, there's too many to count. I would honestly say this is kind of corny. I am a BlackRock advocate, but not to a huge, not crazy. I would say my biggest accomplishment is landing at BlackRock, just because it's such an alignment of my personal brand and my professional brand. And I really feel like there's no end in sight for where my career can go here. So that's my biggest accomplishment professionally.
Love it. And Akeem?
Wow, it's a hard one. I would say professionally, biggest accomplishment was realizing my own value of what I bring to a company, and not necessarily just thinking I need the company, but the company also needs me. So being able to reach that level of self-security was a big accomplishment for me.
Yeah. What a wonderful thought process to go through, right? Of confidence and self-awareness and introspection. Amazing. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, Jing, Emily, Akeem, for joining us today, and the audience for sharing such great advice and asking such thoughtful questions. We can't thank you enough for all of you who tuned in to the discussion. I've definitely come away with a greater understanding of, how to think about corporate development, in particular at BlackRock, right? This idea of, as Jing spoke about, having that kind of adaptive mindset. Emily having kind of realistic expectations when transitioning to the corporate world, perhaps from an academic background. Akeem kind of really emphasizing and talking about the importance of finding joy in your work beyond your day-to-day activities. And ultimately, this idea of that kind of collective work that really allows you to thrive and grow at a place like BlackRock. So we, are going to be sharing post-event information for anybody who has any specific questions. We will be sending out that recording, so keep an eye out for that for those who registered, along with resources to learn more about opportunities at BlackRock. BlackRock's profile and jobs are on Fairy Godboss, so feel free to check their profile and check out their opportunities if you're interested in learning more. And BlackRock has also shared a link to join their talent community in the chat. So if you click on the link, which was shared in the chat on the right-hand side, you can join their talent community, and just remember to select Fairy Godboss when clicking how did you hear about us? We'd also love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. So please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen to share your thoughts in a 1-minute survey. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for having us.